All right, welcome everybody to today's show, Inflow TV Conversations. So I'm here with a special guest today. We have the homie Khafre J, founder and executive director of the organization Hip Hop for Change. Welcome, Khafre.
Well, Huru, right on. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Now this is our first official interview,
Mhm.
but let me say wholeheartedly, brother, I really appreciate what you're doing in the community with Hip Hop for Change. I mean, it's frontlines work, brother,
Yeah,
and I'm
we are.
excited for you to share what's happening. Yeah,
Yeah, we're definitely on the streets, man, grinding, and as we must nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm just happy to
absolutely.
to have this platform to tell your viewers, your community, what we're doing, because we need folks to know about this work out here in Oakland and nationwide. So,
Absolutely, man. So we can get into it. I would love to hear a bit about your background
all right.
and Hip Hop for Change and how it was birthed.
Yeah, man. So I am hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I'm hip hop like KRS One said. I am hip hop. I don't do hip hop. I am hip hop. And
Mm,
I went through all that toxic male stuff trying to find my base of power when I was in my teens. I did that stuff really well,
mm,
but the cliche is hip hop saved my life, and hip hop it has this nugget of
yeah,
introspection and self affirmation that a lot of kids from from the community they look for. And once I started really getting into my grind, that introspection turned me into the activist that I always was on the inside. So, in my 20s,
mm.
I'm rapping about Black Lives Mattering, and my career is all of a sudden dead. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah,
not no
yeah, yeah.
longer disrespecting women. I'm no longer rapping about money I don't have. So I'm no longer going to get booked by these big, party promotion companies out here in the Bay. And that put
Right.
me in the underground scene out here in the Bay. And then the Bay, we got art, man. We got activism. We got the most incredible
Hmm.
voices. But I can't pay you to rap, and I also need you to pass out these flyers for free on your own time. This is what we've been doing for like 2 decades in this
Yeah.
community here that I'm a part of, trying to make it. And I also started my, grassroots activism. I was the first Black City coordinator for Greenpeace for their new two
Okay.
thousand push for grassroots fundraising. I ran the entire Bay Area fundraising office and learned how to get a $500,000 a year without going to the federal penitentiary. I learned how to employ a
Man.
bunch of other people as well. And so, one night I had this kind of inceptive moment when I got to open up for Rakim, but the promotion
Wow.
company wouldn't even pay me. They're like, we don't know you. We just want to see what you got. I was like, I had to borrow $20 from my mom to get gas in my car. It didn't feel good. You know what I'm saying? And this is a POC company too. And I was like, man, y'all ain't even
Yeah.
gonna give me $100 and y'all just sold out this 1,200 person venue. Y'all only gave me $100, and that night I was so pissed. And of course I opened up for Rakim, you know what I'm saying? Because he's a god.
Oh, it's
And
Rakim.
yeah, regardless. But that night I was just so mad because my community had been spinning its wheels. Everybody's broke, everybody's grinding for decades. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I just had to start. I know how to get a $500,000 a year, employing 20 to 40 people, doing
Yeah.
grassroots work on street corners, getting a financially sovereign stream of money where we don't have to,
Mm.
try to step and fetch it for these foundations that are usually ran by cis white men to see if my activism for my Black and brown community is good enough. So I was able to
Yeah.
raise $250,000 before we even got our 501c3 status. I started Hip Hop for Change
Wow.
that night. I went
Wow.
on the street with a clipboard and said, "We're gonna save the hip hop." You know what I'm saying? Just a clipboard on Hate Street, and I raised like $800 that week, and I went and incorporated in Sacramento, and then I figured out how to do a website and 501c3 status. I raised
Yeah.
26 grand the first 8 months out there on the street by myself before I got a coworker. And the
Wow.
next year was just 183 grand and 363. And, we're blessed now,
Yeah.
according to our 990s, we're the largest hip hop education organization in the nation. So it's been a long
Wow.
time coming. It's been a lot of knocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And initially Hip Hop for Change was just to pay canvassers to stand on corners talking about the co-optation of hip hop, raise funds, and then throw shows and
Yeah.
actually pay artists and create that party scene. it blew up into education, and now we've taught 26,000 kids K through 12 by employing local artists, fingerprinting, TB testing, trauma training, and going into schools. We're doing the fattest progressive hip hop shows that are free, all ages, like the park jams of the past that are paid for by organizations that have money, where we can actually center these events around social justice issues like environmental justice or Afro-Asian solidarity. And really, the game theory is trying to integrate horizontally and vertically every means of producing and promoting hip hop under a community controlled 501c3 now. So to the hip hop industry, the $7 billion industry, y'all can keep that, but I am coming for your heads. And you know, you can't fake authenticity. And so once we can really take back, not at all, you know, so if we can just get a stable base of self-determination, we can enfranchise the voices that aren't being heard right now due to the fact that hip hop is controlled by 3 corporations, 90% of the means of production, and the audience is 75% suburban white men between 18 and 24. You know what I'm saying? So that's fine. Yeah. That's white media. That's what it's always going to be. I'm not really dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? And if those kids want to ingest that, they can do that. I get that. But we need to make sure that our most empowered voices can feed themselves, can house themselves, right? And can have enough energy at the end of the night to continue to make these important narratives and then be mentors, you know what I'm saying? So that's what Hip Hop for Change is doing. We're literally taking the game back, and we need everybody to join the fight for this culture because we can do this.
Wow. So you mentioned Afro-Asian solidarity. Can you talk to some of those events and workshops that you're working on?
I mean, specifically, you know, white supremacy is going to white supremacy, right? You know what I'm saying? So every chance that white supremacy can do to blame Black people for our social status, they take that opportunity. For example, right now we see that there's a lot of crime going on right now, a lot of crimes of poverty, crimes of resources, you know what I'm saying? And in the hood, every hood, there's going to be 10, 15 kids that are going out pulling licks. I was one of those kids when I was 16. You know, I tell people today I was robbing Asian people with other Asian people. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's just the way it is in San Francisco Bay Area. You know, when it comes to hip hop, you know, a lot of the Asian kids in the Bay Area, they rock with Black, brown people, Samoans, you know, Latinos. We don't see that separation in our youth culture as much as we see it amongst our elders, right? So, you know, around last year, we started seeing the news showing, you know, images of Black people that are robbing elders, right? And one of those actually happened in my neighborhood, Hunters Point, where there's this Asian man who was collecting cans. And there was a homeless man who had mental health issues that started attacking this man. And then there was this idiot 17-year-old Black kid that filmed it and was like, I hate Asian people, right? And all of a sudden that goes viral, right? So what do? Well, I know what the news did. The news started showing images of Black people robbing Asian people, saying Black people hate Asian people. When 93% of all hate crimes, that was the narrative, well, 93% of hate crimes against Asian people are still committed by white people, and white people still own a monopoly on violence in America. But the news is going with the stuff that sells, and I get that. And also, if I see somebody attacking the elder, I don't care what you look like. I'm gonna scrape you. I'm gonna defend that elder. All elders are my elders. So it's not like I'm trying to support, you know, folks by saying, hey, don't look at these people that are doing crimes. But what's the source of this crime? What's the source of this criminality? Well, I know 70% of homeless people in Oakland are Black. You know what I'm saying? 70%. I don't even know what percentage of the population we are in Oakland right now because it's fluctuating every year. But when people see homeless people, they say, oh, there's a problem. Instead of saying, oh, white supremacy has kicked people out of their homes and not protected them through the tech boom. So now during COVID, there's even more exacerbation of poverty. And now people are so hungry that some people are going to actually go out and have crimes of poverty and make this stuff happen. So it's really important. And so what we're doing right now is literally trying to hold space because our job as Hip Hop for Change is to support our community, all of our community, right? And so we see people villainizing and trying to crucify these Black children. And my first goal is to say, wait a second. We're not going to put the blame on people trying to survive that don't have the coping mechanisms because society doesn't really want to rock that.
Absolutely.
I would say the most important thing is that we really need to hold space and teach these people what folks are dealing with so they understand that this is not a Black on Asian thing, right? And we do that
Yeah.
through these mind bombs. You know, for example, right now we're working with the Chinese Cultural Center, and hate is a virus, right? And we're talking about connecting Lunar New Year and Black History Month and having a fat hip hop
Yeah.
show. You know what I'm saying? Because damn
That's
near half
dope.
our
That's
culture
dope.
is Asian people in the Bay Area in hip hop specifically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? DJs,
Yeah.
I dare you to go challenge, South Koreans to breakdancing right now. You know what I'm
What? Some of
saying?
the dopest breakers
Yeah,
and
stop.
DJs I know. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. So we really realize, if you look back, if you look back on even Sound Clash in Jamaica, right? On the park jams in New York when hip hop started,
Yeah.
that's where everybody went. You have babies, grandmas, you have people talking about the
Mm-hmm.
community. That's where narratives were being shared. You know what I'm saying? And the
Yeah,
hip
yeah,
hop that
yeah.
was on the mic was prescient. It was relevant. You know what I'm saying? It like had something to do with what was going
Exactly.
on in the community. So how do we get that back? You know what I'm saying? So we have our
Yeah.
environmental justice summit every year, right? And we get
Mm.
Greenpeace, Sierra Club 350.org, Surfrider Foundation to put up the money for it, right? And now we just
Okay.
booked Black Thought from the Roots, Rock from Rhyme Sayers,
Oh
M1
wow.
from Dead
Yeah.
Prez, and now we have a free all ages event, you know what I'm saying, paid for before we even start
Yeah.
advertising, you know what I'm saying? So now we
That's
bring
dope.
all the local environmental justice orgs that are ran by Black and brown people, indigenous folks, you know what I'm saying? And they get to table, they
Mm-hmm.
get to speak, they get to hold space. Greenpeace, Sierra Club, they don't get to say nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then we also have
Mm.
panel discussions. They go on longer than they're supposed to every time because people are always riveted. And then we get to book local artists to open up for Black Thought and Rock and Dead Prez who are rapping about food justice and
That's
whatnot.
awesome.
So that's the model, man.
Yeah. That's dope. It's funny, and you said something too, um, about sort of how hip hop is portrayed, right? And that's one thing I'm saying, right? So we're seeing hip hop being portrayed so negatively because the mainstream, right,
Yeah.
is sort of presenting this negative image of hip hop when there's real things going on, in the community, things that what you're doing that doesn't get promoted.
Yeah. I'm gonna break it down for you straight up. Black people have
Yeah.
never had enough money in American history to dictate a major industry's direction or the manner in which they depict things. Period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if we got a problem with what hip hop looks like, don't talk to me. Talk to suburban white men between 18 and 24 and the three corporations that own 90% of the means of producing hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
you can sell Black people killing other Black people for entertainment as long as you're doing it, like that. They don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it
Yeah.
is.
Exactly.
So, we don't get mad at Mexican people because Taco Bell sucks, do we? No, you know what I'm saying? Why are people getting mad at Black and brown people because corporations are only investing in our most pathological narratives? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to say that hip hop doesn't have, patriarchal roots, but it's not hip hop that has it. It's American society. You know what I'm saying? So if when people focus on hip
Exactly.
hop like, oh, well, y'all treat women, y'all, yeah, like, first off, watch your mouth. Right? Second, point that blame at corporate media. And third, that's a way to
Yeah.
otherize Black people as if we're more responsible. So it's kind of akin to saying Black on Black crime when white on white crime is
Yeah.
just as prevalent because intracommunal violence is the staple, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
really half my goal at Hip Hop for Change, well, actually, it's like my secondary goal, is to
Mm.
humanize us and to humanize our culture. You know what I'm saying? So Black
Mm.
and brown youth can walk through society a little easier. Because when I'm standing out there on the corner doing my grassroots work, I say, yo, how you doing?
Yeah.
Talk to me about, racism. Most people grab their babies, and I go, I'm not going to eat your baby. I'm full. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? And that's a visceral reaction because they've been conditioned seeing somebody who's hip hop. And I don't do hip
Yeah.
hop. I talk hip hop. I dress hip hop. I walk it. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is me. I
Mm.
can't take hip hop off, and I shouldn't have to. You know what I'm saying? But that's the
Exactly.
secondary job of Hip Hop for Change is to make sure that we can teach people in other communities that hey, hip hop is more than you
Yeah.
think it is. I'm actually dealing with this right now with a school in Stanford, California. That we
Mm.
went to our curriculum and we gave them our curriculum. Mind you, we're the largest hip hop education nonprofit in the nation, and they said, "Oh, this is too much." And mind you, this is a rich school. They were
It's
like,
too
"This is too
much.
much money." So we even took our administration off, and they're like, "Well, we also don't want you to teach graffiti." You know what I'm saying? And your
Ooh.
education director, he's violent. And Unlearn our education director
Wow.
bars, bro. This
Yeah.
dude raps about his living. He raps about life, but he's violent.
Yeah.
And this is our uniform. And in one of our slides, it has people from our nonprofit wearing the shirt. He said, we don't want to, show anything that makes it look like one group is responsible for. I'm like, yo, we just put an open letter on LinkedIn this morning, man. And this is the things that we're dealing with. We're dealing with number two, breaking the stereotypes. But regardless of scaring white folks, you know what I'm saying? I think the number one prime directive of Hip Hop for Change is to make sure anybody who's hip hop, white, black, Asian, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, whatever, whoever you are, if you want to do hip hop, you can do it without exploitation. And you can do it with a community control platform that's got your back. That's what we're here for.
That's dope, man. And Frank, you said a couple times already, actually a few times, the phrase holding space. And just from what you're saying right now, it's something that even in my career, in my life, and now I'm in tech, corporate America, my roots is hip hop. I was born in Jamaica, so I've seen hip hop sort of emerge and rise, and the influence of reggae on hip hop, and I'm an MC myself. I make beats and all of that.
I need some
for so long. I got you. For so long, I refused to hold space.
Yeah.
Within corporate America, I never brought my whole self.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm seeing with the organization that you're heading here is like you're encouraging people to bring their whole self, their whole black self, right? Their whole Asian self. This is be themselves.
I mean, this is the one aspect of mental health, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just being able to be your authentic self, right? I'm having super conversations about, trans people right now because of Dave Chappelle, you know what I'm saying? And I'm having people saying, oh, well, you're talking to kids about their sexuality and gender at too young an age. I'm like, yo, I knew I was a heteronormative man when I was 7, you know what I'm saying? And I know the number one problem that black and brown kids have is the fact that they don't get to be themselves in school. If we get to be ourselves, then we get sent to prison, right? We got to cut this. We can't be ourselves. We know how dangerous that is. So what happens to a 7-year-old trans person? You know what I'm saying? Like that finds out that their gender, the same time I found out mine, what are they supposed to do because of society's trepidations? I mean, I think people are so concerned about white supremacy and the ways in which it's attacking black and brown communities. And I get that black people need to have these conversations, but how do we have these conversations? We can't do it on white controlled media. You know what I'm saying? We have to have our own spaces, and we have to have a place where we can be authentic. And that's why Hip Hop for Change, there is no code switching here. They're like, I don't have any check boxes on my application. You know what I'm saying? I went to jail before myself when I was 18. The last time, the last time I went for non-protest reasons. But you know what I'm saying? Like we all are on a pathway here, and we're here. We're hip hop culture, and you ain't got to be hip hop when you're here, but you can damn for sure be comfortable in this space, being hip hop, being black and brown, being queer, being a woman, being whoever you are, and that's important for our mental health. To go into a capitalist world where we have to work and trade our labor for enough financial resources to eat and feed our babies. And it's so hard. And I know, speaking in tech communities of how hard it is to not be able to be your authentic self in working places. So the Hip Hop for Change, after 3 months, everybody gets a gold grill. Why? Because that's what we decided, and everybody wants it, everybody likes it. It's cool, but we get to have fun. We get to go rock climbing. On Wednesdays, we don't even go fundraise. Awesome. We just do holistic health stuff. So that's what we do, man. We hold space for our culture, for our people, and for what they're dealing with.
It's funny, man. And so to the conversation, what hit me one time was some years ago, I'm at a tech conference, and I'm in the audience, and there's a bunch of tech executives on stage, and now in the tech scene, everyone's like now wearing jeans and t-shirts, right? And everyone's kind of like dressing down out here in the Bay, right?
Tattoos.
So it's funny. I'm seeing like corporate America kind of like switch a little bit, especially here in the Bay. So I'm watching these guys on stage, and I noticed one guy is rocking a Wu-Tang t-shirt. And I'm to your point about who's consuming hip hop, right? But then I'm sitting there, I'm like, I had a button up on, a button down on, a button, looking all square. And I'm like, he's up there with a Wu-Tang shirt, like I've met Wu-Tang, that's my thing, why is he repping Wu-Tang? And I'm sitting here being all conservative about it. And it was that day I'm like, dude, be yourself. Be who you are, no matter where you are. Be who you are.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, it's so hard, the pain that Black people, brown people have to go through in the world of white respectability politics. You know what I'm saying? Like that is like the secondary mission of Hip Hop for Change. We've been dealing with that for years, just trying to be like, I go to write a grant and they're like, who's these Negroes over here? Right? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I go to school, I got to work at a school, and I'm like, they're like, who's these Negroes? And are they going to come shoot up the school?
Yeah.
Every part of this, no matter who I work with, the Hip Hop for Change, this stuff, it taints every social interaction we're in. You know what I'm saying? So it's taken us a long time to set the precedence where we won the SF Symphony's Ella Magna Newman Award last year, or the Zellebach Family Foundation Award last year. It took us so long to get past the stigma of white supremacist stereotypes about who we can be. But it feels good now that we know that. You know what I'm saying? It feels good that we can actually send this open letter to this school that not even microaggressed us, macroaggressed us, and we've had enough precedent that people are gonna be like, "Hey, how dare you do that to Hip Hop for Change?" So we're almost there. We're almost there.
So funny. So speaking of working with the tech community, what's some of the other things that you've been doing with different tech companies, with Hip Hop for Change?
Yeah, one thing that where we interact with a lot of different outside organizations, everybody needs hip hop. Everybody needs hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if you need your office graffiti painted, you know what I'm saying? Or if you want hip hop to be at your equity summit or whatnot, it fits everywhere. So, UCSF Medical hit us up. They're doing COVID-19 testing in Black and brown neighborhoods. So we come out there with a DJ booth and get white doctors and lab coats dancing to rap and funk. And it just makes it a little easier, you know what I'm saying? Kaiser hit us for the Health and Equity Summit. And at 8 a.m. at the Hilton in Frisco, we had break dancers coming out, going up and down the aisles. We had live graffiti on stage and turned their hashtag and a whole rap song got it popping. But for example, we just worked with Facebook. They were teaching coding by making beats. Makes sense, right? But Facebook is Facebook. Facebook ain't hip hop, so they needed the cultural relevancy, and they tapped us for that.
Yeah.
So we've been working with Facebook for like a year, nationwide, teaching coding and hip hop culture. Unfortunately, that's gonna blow up a lot more into this program we got called Pipelines to Positivity, where we're actually working and getting grants to fully train kids in engineering, podcasting, beat making, and giving kids full access to free studios to produce albums at no cost to them. So we got this thing called Pipelines to Positivity. We taught 26,000 kids. So there's always these standouts in juvenile detention centers and foster youth placement homes. So we're trying to give them a different opportunity when they get out. Because after they learn about hip hop, they're like, what's next? So luckily, we've been in talks with Facebook. We're going to blow this program up, take it nationwide. And so that's some of the ways we've been working with tech, because everything can be wrapped in hip hop. Hip hop is just a vehicle for information. So anybody listening to this, whatever you're doing at your job, whatever you're doing in your work, I don't even care if it's a party or whatever, we can make it hip hop. You know what I'm saying? We even got hip hop D&I classes for your tech homies. So let us know.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
It's so funny, man. Coming up, especially in the 90s, I had a community of, rappers and beat makers. And I used to always marvel at us doing this stuff because we were on these sort of beat machines, which are computers.
Yeah.
Right? And we're sitting there programming beats and using algorithms to match tempos and using filters and, just to make it sound how we want it to sound. Like, we were computer savvy, not even realize we were computer savvy.
For real.
Like, we were programming.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things about this, and that's why we call the program Pipelines to Positivity, right? Because really, the concepts you have in your brain are the confines with which you can take your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be a doctor if you don't think you can, right? You can't be a painter if you don't have the concept of what a painter is. So the ideas and things that are flowing around the neighborhood is the jail that our possibilities are in. So our job is to make sure we can get as many narratives, as many coping mechanisms, as many possibilities into our kids' heads as possible. And when kids look at rap, hip hop, hip hop, they think of rap And now because of Kanye,
Yeah.
they might think of making beats and engineering. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
kids aren't
exactly.
thinking about the lawyer that helps hip hop artists go through contracts, right? People aren't thinking about the nonprofit hip hop side or the education hip hop side, right? People aren't thinking of all the other
Absolutely.
thing like promotion, right? What about the caterers at the hip hop show in the hip hop community, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's so much of an economy around hip hop, and that's what makes hip hop a social justice thing. Social justice is the
Exactly.
means of sharing our dreams, hopes, and creating financial efficacy around that in this society. We've
Yeah.
got to own that. We've got to own that. We just have to, so we can actually
Absolutely.
let these kids know, hey, I can't, maybe I can't rap, maybe I can't dance, but you know what? I've been negotiating all kind of stuff for a while. Why don't I be a negotiator for some of these artists? Maybe I could be a manager. You know,
Yeah.
we've got to get these kids to understand the opportunities within hip hop, because all of our kids in America are primed to use hip hop. The psychological term of priming, they're all primed and ready to hip hop. It would behoove us as elders to just grease
Yeah.
the way and the path for them to use their culture. Or we can get old and crumpety tell them to get off our lawns and stop doing rock and roll, whichever one we want to.
Absolutely. And you talk about sort of the synergy, right, of hip hop, synergy of hip hop and tech, right? The different fields. You know, like you're right. There is an ecosystem, right? You know, it's there's photography, right? There's cinematography. There's all these different aspects of ways you can contribute, right? And even sort of so with now the synergy of hip hop and tech, what support would you like to see more so from the tech community?
Oh man. So, I've been struggling. I've been struggling for the last 18 months. I've been, man, I got 30 people over here that need to eat food, and I'm the one responsible for that. I've been grinding, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Black-led nonprofits have around 56% less money on hand and about 72% less
Yeah.
savings on average, not because we're less than, but because philanthropy is very white supremacist, right? The respectability politics. I'm in Oakland, right next to Silicon Valley. I'm damn near in Silicon Valley after gentrification,
Yeah.
right? But why am I struggling? You know what I'm saying? Why? I hear a lot of people, oh, I donated to Black Lives Matter. I'm like, yo, they got $100 million, bro. Can we stop? I mean, I'm not trying to hate on BLM because they're amazing. They gave so much money to local racial justice organizations on the ground last year. So I got respect, you know what I'm saying? But the Southern Poverty Law Center, they don't, like we literally have lost so many Black-led nonprofits in the last year. We've lost even more Black-led arts education nonprofits because everybody thinks the art lasts. And we do need criminal justice reform. We need police reform. We need systemic policy reform to stop systemic racism. But remember, 30% of kids in Oakland have been diagnosed with PTSD from the CDC. And that was in 2012. It's a higher rate than Afghan vets. And I argue they don't live in the certain neighborhoods, and they live in neighborhoods like mine. You know what I'm saying? Expressive arts therapy expressive arts therapy is the go-to for that type of trauma. But Black kids on average have 50% less access to art classes as white kids in America. And that's why half of our classes have been taught free. You know what I'm saying? So, during the pandemic, we lost 80% of our means of fundraising. I've been running a 50% underwater budget for a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? We lost half our monthly donor base and had to furlough our grassroots street team. And I'm not complaining, you know what I'm saying? But it's just the state of things. So, like I said before to you, right before we started, white supremacy really kills, Black people's social capital. So I don't know nobody who works in Silicon Valley. I'm from the hood. I don't know nobody who goes to Stanford. I don't know nobody who went to Yale. You know what I'm saying? I don't know nobody with legacy money. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I need 50K right now. You know what I'm saying? For the next 2 months and everything's good. So what do I need from Silicon Valley? Well, there's only two things that Black-led arts nonprofits need. One is social capital. So please tell every single person, if you love hip hop in any way, shape, or form, if you want more from hip hop for your kids in any way, shape, or form, please tell somebody that you heard this interview and that these cats are doing work out here and on the brink of expanding to LA and New York and DC and Philly and Miami and, taking over the industry. Other than that, we need resources. I need money. I'm sorry. We live in a capitalist society. And it costs a lot of money to not pay the lowest people on our totem pole crappy. We won't do that like all these other organizations do. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to, and also and also, we just figured out philanthropy. And yeah, last year we got over 50% of our grants funded. Thank you, Brianna,
Yeah.
George, and Ahmad. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for dying, because white America listens sometimes when we die, you know what I'm saying, publicly.
Yeah.
And we don't really get support for us without bloodshed. That's a damn shame. But I appreciate the influx of money that came in right when that happened. But I told my whole staff that this is a fad. Do not get used to this. It's a fad. And sure enough, December, we broke again, you know what I'm saying? And so now I'm literally at the end of that rope. So I need everybody that really supports things like this, that wants to see Black, kids, brown kids learn their culture, learn their value, and learn a culture of introspection and self-affirmation that can take them anywhere. If you support that, go to hiphopforchange.org. We lost half our monthly donors. Become a monthly donor, $8 or more. It's like Netflix, but the babies get to chill. So, do what you can, tell a couple people about us. But yeah, it's been very difficult. I hear about groups of rich people that have support groups because they don't know what to do with their money.
Like, I got some ideas.
I think they need a financial literacy class. That's what I think they need. Broke Black people, we got financial literacy. I'm joking. I jest. But I really need the tech community. I need everybody I can right now, man, because literally when kids understand their potential, there's no holding them back. You can't even get in their way. They'll run you over. And hip hop does that for us. You know what I'm saying? So if you support it, go to hiphopforchange.org. We're on LinkedIn. We everywhere. Please tell everybody about us. And it only costs us about $50K to open up an office anywhere in the nation. So if you got that, if you want us to come to Columbus, Ohio, and you got a little bag for us, we would go. Let us know. All right?
Yeah. No, seriously, man. And I think too, man. And last year you mentioned George Floyd, Breonna. We saw all these pledges, and statements for Black Lives Matter. And so like a year or more later, where some of those same tech companies, executive CEOs, how are you making good on some of those pledges? And it's not so much a knock, but it's just that to your point, there was some sort of a fad going on where people made the statements to seem aware because they were made aware, and then that awareness light began to dim over the months a little bit.
Yeah, I would tell you like this. How many tech companies, big ones, sent lobbyists over to make sure that they didn't have to disclose their data versus how many tech companies sent lobbyists over to say, hey, pass that voter legislation? You know what I'm saying? Like, miss me with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn your statement. I for example, I've been going online for a year and a half, damn near stalking people, being like, yo, can you support this? You help, please holler at me. Look at our website, please. Everybody, like everybody. And I see like genius.com, right? I'm just going to put this out there. Genius, they make money off of hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? I like a lot of the things that they produce around hip hop culture. And they put a beautiful Black Lives Matter statement out saying that they're going to make investments in my community. They won't even respond to me, homie. They won't even I've been trying to hit every single person up. Can you just put out an article on us and be like, help this Black arts hip hop organization? I can't even get a response, bro. And I don't know. That's the whole social capital thing. And I've hit up them. I hit up The Source. I hit up, Double XL. I hit up everybody. I hit up Ari Melber from The Beat. You know what I'm saying? Let me get on Fallback Friday, homie. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Right now I'm trying to hire Tiffany Cross because I think I got a better chance with her. You know what I'm saying? But I need social capital. I'm like, yo, please give me this platform. And that's why I'm really grateful to you, man, for giving me this platform, because that's it. I just need people to know. I just need people to know.
Yeah, and like I say, man, it's holding space, and even me, a lot of this, even in the past, 18 months, 2 years with the pandemic and the George Floyd and stuff like that. It's me sort of, a lot of this is me coming to a realization myself. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, man, I was crazy active. I used to volunteer at Rikers Island Prison. I used to be funny. A similar organization, what you're doing now, called Beats and Blessings, where we teach kids how to make beats, and do community work, help kids find jobs. And it's like sometimes you get so sucked into this corporate world that you begin to lose touch.
Yeah,
You know what I
10
mean?
years
I was
later,
not
you're
rapping.
like, yeah, 10 years later, you're like, oh, snap, I have, what about my people, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You know.
and that's another thing. It's like, I often, at one point, half of my staff, I literally told to get off the plantation and quit your job. Like, I was throwing cards at people. I was like, you don't even want to work here. Come on, I'll pay you more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
really the important thing. I mean, when you look at 90% of black farmers had their land stolen in the last 90 years, you know what I'm saying? How much
Mm-hmm.
space did we lose that we could have held for people to have great jobs? You know what I'm saying? We lost so much of that
Absolutely.
space. We lost cities,
Yeah.
we lost neighborhoods, we lost grandmas, we
Mm-hmm.
lost grandpas, we lost
Yeah.
generational knowledge, and all that space.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're trying to do is just take back this space of hip hop. Hip hop drives, number one, the way people see us, but more importantly than scaring
Man.
white folks, hip hop drives the way we see
Yeah.
ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It drives the space that we can even hold
Absolutely,
in our
man.
minds for our own selves. You know what I'm saying? So when this kid is
Yeah.
sitting here listening to songs about disrespecting black women, but he don't really feel that way because he come from a matriarchal society, and that's why black communities have the
Yeah.
lowest instances of rape because you
Yeah.
don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But this
Yeah.
kid only
Absolutely.
has these Lil Yachty's, Uzis, or what the NBA young boys and whatnot. That's all he has,
Yeah.
and that will resonate with him, and he can get something out of that. But once he
Mm-hmm.
realizes hip hop is his whole ecosystem, he'll find himself,
Yeah.
right? Because when I heard Black on Both
Absolutely.
Sides, man, I was like, oh snap! I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not a gangster rapper anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stop playing,
Yeah.
man. So we just gotta
It's
let
funny,
these kids get them drums, them Shaka Zulu drums in their chest once, and that's it.
but it was funny, like you said that, because yeah, I was listening to the Nas album.
Mhm.
Actually, another point too about Genius. I think he's affiliated with Genius too, so we got to
He
get
is.
some of
I,
these,
I
hip hop.
reached
Yeah,
out to
yeah, yeah,
Queensbridge Real Estate too.
yeah.
I'm
Okay,
trying. I'm
gotcha.
trying to find.
Oh, you
Yo, I've been
working?
trying
You
to.
working?
You see the angles? I'm coming to angles, man. I've been hitting up for 18 months because we are literally in
Yeah,
survival mode. So Nas, if you hear this,
yeah,
big homie, OG, like you know what I'm saying? We
yeah.
can take this
Absolutely.
game back. And once I open up 3 offices, I bet you
Yeah,
Scarface is gonna call me like, "Yo, you guys got something here." I bet you people gonna
let's
call. I
do it.
bet you Common's gonna be like, "Yo, this little homie got some
Hmm.
over here." I'm gonna make people believe we
That's
can have a
another brother
community
too.
control
Yeah,
platform.
Common.
I don't even know how to reach him. Common, what's up, man? I need you. I need you.
Yeah.
So,
Yo, so what we're gonna do with this, man? Like I mentioned, we're gonna blast this interview. LinkedIn, IG. We just get the word out. I'm gonna get even more involved with what you're doing. I live in the Bay Area now. I'm out here like on the peninsula in San
oh,
Mateo.
word. Welcome, man.
Yeah, I'm
Welcome.
saying hella now.
Ah!
Whatnot. So like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm all Bay Area out.
Yo, our education director's got me saying dead ass because he's from Wash Heights. So, so yeah. We got
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of New
that's
York in
that's New
here.
York.
You're welcome, man. Come through to the office.
Yeah.
I got a hoodie for you, man. I got some swag for you.
Absolutely.
We ain't got much, but I got mad love for you, man. Mad respect for you putting us up on here. So
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
yeah.
So what's next, man? Before I let you go.
Yeah, to be quite honest, man, we literally reestablishing our grassroots street team, right?
Okay.
We're stepping up that team. Not only are they out there in the streets with jobs, living wages, but we're giving them access to
Yeah.
healthcare, mental health services, economic and employment development, things like that, financial literacy. Once we
Awesome.
reestablish our grassroots team, we'll be stable financially. And then it's just doing the same thing. Right now, our education has been in more demand than it ever has been. We've been teaching nationwide. So really, I'm just making sure I can pay these people to do the work that these
Yeah.
kids are asking for. And then as soon as I get that going, I'm opening up LA. And as soon as I finish opening up LA, I'm coming to
Yeah.
New York. And then I'm going to Miami. Then I'm going to DC, Chicago. And then, yeah, that's just it, man. When we have our Rock the Bells Women Empowerment Summit going all around the nation, that's free all ages, 20,000 people at
Yeah.
the Shoreline Amphitheater, people are going to know. So that's what's next. What's
That's
next
dope.
is taking our culture back. So if you want to, please join the fight for our culture, y'all. We got a community control platform that can really, really do this.
But thank you so much, brother. Y'all heard this, man. Please, everyone, get involved. I'm gonna be posting the links to this interview on all my socials, so please get involved. They're doing real work in the community, education. based on hip hop. We're hip hop.
Yeah.
As Khafre said, I am hip hop.
Thank you, man.
So thanks a lot, brother.
Right on, yo.
Been real,
Much
man.
appreciated.
All right, brother.